Hey everyone, Red Rebel Jeff Jones here. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the criticisms I got from my last Candace Owens video. Now, some of the criticisms were quite interesting, I will say. And I think some of it came from me not describing things that well, maybe. So I'm going to elaborate on some of the points I was making, mainly. So first off, one of the points that I made was that Candace Owens didn't put many of her claims together into a cohesive story. And a lot of people kind of were going at me saying that I wasn't intelligent enough to actually figure out the story she was telling. It's like she wasn't telling a story. That was my point. Now, what do I mean by telling a story? Like, first off, she doesn't think Tyler Robinson was the one that shot Charlie Kirk. Okay? Who did then? And how did these different organizations and governments factor into this plan to kill him? How did they get this person to the university, to the shooting position, shoot him, and then how do they get him away? That's what I mean by she's not telling a story. She's just making claims about who she thinks was involved. And this kind of goes into something that I don't think Candace. This is the reason why I don't think Candace's investigation is that credible, as given how she's gone about it. So the way you kind of do an investigation, and I know this quite a bit from studying, basically mainly studying air accidents, I will admit, but I have also read quite a bit into murder investigations, mainly because I find it interesting. You first have to find out what exactly has happened. Now, it's not just, oh, Charlie Kirk got shot. How was he shot? Where was he shot from? How did the bullet interact with him? That kind of stuff. It then goes into how did it happen? How did the shooter get to the shooting position to take the shot? How did he get away? What was the weapon that he used? And other stuff like that. And then finally, it's why did it happen? Now, the main the the big thing when it comes to murder investigations with regard to motive in this case, in these cases, is that you find out the motive usually after you catch the guy. So that really doesn't factor into catching him. Now, you might get hints about his motive during the investigation, as they did in this case, where they found writing on the gun and on the bullets. But that's just hints of motive, really. So she's made a lot of claims about the motive of these different organizations and different governments to kill Charlie. The problem is she hasn't laid out what the actual plan was, i.e., to get the shooter to the scene, to get the shooter away. She's doing her investigation backwards. She's starting with motive of these different governments and organizations. It's like, hang on, that doesn't make sense. And if you notice, it's already governments and organizations that she doesn't like, that she's accusing of being involved. So that should be a hint. Now, one thing I actually found quite interesting, because it happened at the start of January. It was basically her first video of 2026. Like, because she's doing like trailers and teasers for her videos. And one of them was she said at the start of the teaser for this first video that she was going to put the claims together into a story. I thought, okay, this is interesting. This piqued my interest. But it also kind of made me think, hang on, a lot of people were saying that she had put it into a story before. And that was one of the criticisms I got in my last video on it. It's like, well, clearly she's kind of admitting that she hadn't. So that kind of goes against those commenters that went at me about that. So, but yeah, this piqued my interest. It's like, okay, she's going to actually lay it out. So I watched the video. She didn't really lay it out at all. She just repeated the claims. And actually, weirdly enough, she made some new ones, which, like, just like the some of the other claims, didn't seem to have any relevance. So that was a bit of a letdown, I'm going to be honest. And also, like, when it comes to doing an investigation, evidence is vitally important, not just to convince other people, but to convince yourself. And like she admitted on the Piers Morgan show that she doesn't have any concrete evidence for her claims. So how is she so confident about them then? Because this is something that's actually rather interesting. The first person you need to convince with evidence in an investigation is yourself. And you do this by getting the information, analyzing it. What I like to call interrogating it is like, is there a reasonable explanation for this evidence? Like the whole thing with the Egyptian planes is a great example. Like they were saying that they were following Charlie and Erica Kirk, when in fact they were just going to the place where they're usually maintained for the assault aircraft. That idea of interrogating her evidence of like the flight records didn't even appear to enter her mind. She is fully confident of her claims despite concrete evidence. That's a serious red flag. And I think, like, I am willing to seriously consider her claims if she provides strong, concrete evidence for them. But I'm not just going to believe her claims for the sake of believing them. Another comment I got, and this was actually kind of an interesting one, because the statement I made, it was on the capabilities of government. This comment, it was an interesting one, 100%, because what I said in the video was I don't think these governments and organizations were involved, because if all of these governments and organizations were involved, the knowledge of the plot would leak out because there's too many involved. As I said in the previous video, the very famous phrase, three can keep a secret if two are dead. But this commenter took what I said into saying that I don't believe governments are capable of this, which is not true at all. I am quite capable, so I'm quite knowledgeable about some of the horrific things that governments have done throughout history. I mean, look at the horrific stuff the Nazi government did. So I will say, Mossad, the Israeli government secret service, is like they can do scarily efficient killings. I mean, look what happened with the pagers and the walkie-talkie bombs. It's like you have to admit Scary, but clever. So I'm well aware of what the government is capable of doing. So I wasn't saying the government isn't capable of being involved in Charlie Kirk's murder. Because is it possible that these different governments and organizations were involved in it? It's possible. But I need to see concrete evidence before I believe it. So that comment was interesting to me because it was completely misinterpreting what I said. It really is an interesting aftermath of the killing. I think it's fair to say because you get so many ideas and theories around it. I do believe the FBI's official investigation at the moment. And the reason being is that from what I've seen, they've done the investigation properly. They've tracked the direction of the shooter after he took the shot. From the video evidence they have, I mean, they have the guy jumping from the roof. They followed the direction he went, and it was in that direction they found the gun. And they arrested Tyler Robinson after he admitted to several people that he did it. Now, this one thing I will say on that, I do understand why some people think that's a bit non-believable that the perpetrator would just turn himself in the way he did. So I understand why people are skeptical of it. I think, given the fact that the family isn't as mad as he is, I think it makes sense that they would push him to turn himself in with the help of this family friend who was he was I think he a retired police sergeant or something. So like yeah, a retired police officer family friend helped him to hand himself in. So I do understand the suspicion around stuff like that. But if you want me to believe these claims, believe these other possibilities, show me the evidence. Show me the evidence that's been interrogated and analyzed to demonstrate that this other possibility is in fact what happened. Don't just claim it and expect me to believe it. So, what do you guys think? Share your thoughts with me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. And if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button and do not forget to subscribe to keep up with my latest videos. I think the death of Charlie Kirk I don't think anyone expected it to fracture the right the way it has. Although, looking at it now, I think this kind of fracturing is kind of half needed. Because I think the right for a while has been too open to people who share some of our ideas but have radical other ideas that are incompatible with right wing beliefs. So I think this whole fracturing of the right as a result of this is definitely what was needed. Now, do I hope that it'll right itself? 100%. But I think it's a period that's needed within the movement so we can properly understand what we actually believe in and what we're actually fighting for.